his name is Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. كتاب ابن جرير في التفسير لم يصنف أحد مثله. There is no one. Imam al-Nawawi, he came like 3 centuries or more after Imam al-Tabari. So it was a big period of time, or long period of time. He said there is no person who wrote a book in tafsir like al-Tabari. This is a very well-known book. It's something all the scholars praised and talked about its position. And then after a while, people started authoring the books of tafsir from more than one perspective. So someone who is specialized in grammar, for example, and in Nahu, and in the Arabic branches of knowledge, so he wants to write a book of tafsir from that perspective, about the syntax, about the morphology, about the rhetorical meanings of the Quran, about the i'rab of the Quran. So this was one perspective. A faqih, a scholar of fiqh, he decided to write a book about the ayat that have rulings, fiqh rulings in the Quran, tafsir ayat al-ahkam, and it became a kind of category of the categories of the tafsir, the tafsir ayat al-ahkam. Or someone who wants to talk about the aqidah. So let's focus and highlight the ayat that have aqidah in the Quran. So the tafsir, it becomes many perspectives of tafsir. And it turned out to be some different and multiple tafsir. Everyone is specialized, everyone highlights a specific major or specific point or perspective from the tafsir. That's why after a while the scholars of Quran told us, so we have to categorize the tafsir of the Quran. We have the tafsir, al-tafsir bil-ma'thur. We have tafsir through transmission, tafsir through the riwayah of the narration. These books of tafsir just are narrating the reports of the Sahaba, the reports of the Salaf, the reports of the biggest scholars about the ayah. He just narrated, just reporting to us what the scholars said about this ayah. This is al-tafsir bil-ma'thur. It's a well-known one. Tafsir al-Tabari, the one we just mentioned, is one of these biggest tafsir in this category. Tafsir ibn Kathir, and you know Tafsir ibn Kathir, and it is translated into English. And this one, just tafsir bil-ma'thur, most of it. He doesn't add his own opinion except in very few cases. But generally, is mentioned the reports and the narrations from the Sahaba. Tafsir ibn Atiyya, al-Muharrar al-Wajiz, and I think it is translated as well. Imam from Andalus, he translated the Quran. Imam al-Samarqandi, this is a book of tafsir, and Samarqandi was a Hanafi scholar. They would call him Imam al-Hind, and I think it is translated into English as well. I'm trying to mention the tafsir that are translated for the brothers or sisters who want to refer to some books of tafsir to look for more meanings and opinions of the scholars. Imam al-Suyuti has a book of tafsir bil-ma'thur. Many scholars wrote books in which they were just narrating the narrations of the tafsir of the Quran. We have a tafsir, this is tafsir bil-ma'thur or bil-riwayah, and we have a tafsir bil-dirayah, the tafsir through the opinion. I'm adding my own opinion. As a scholar of tafsir, I'm adding my own opinion of the tafsir, the explanation of this ayah. I have also many examples for this. Imam al-Baydawi, his book of tafsir, is tafsir through the opinion. Imam al-Razi, and his book is a very big book of tafsir. It's actually a kind of encyclopedia, the book of Imam al-Razi, because they said he talked about everything. Imam al-Razi in his tafsir was talking about the aqidah, was talking about the language, was talking about the fiqh, was talking about astronomy, was talking about medicine, was talking about everything. Even some scholars, they were criticizing him because he widened the range of tafsir to that very wide range. But some of them said, كتابه فيه كل شيء إلا التفسير. He said that his book has everything except tafsir. He has everything. He went about everything. He went far as much as you can imagine. Really, it's a very amazing work. كتاب تفسير الإمام الرازي, مفاتيح الغيب. And the book of Imam al-Nasafi, Madarik al-Tanzil. I think it is translated, but I'm not sure. The book of Imam al-Khatib, al-Shirbini, the Shafi'i scholar, al-Siraj al-Munir. The book of the Iraqi scholar, Imam al-Alusi, the late Iraqi scholar, Ruh al-Ma'ani, is one of the very nice tafasir. All of these examples are the tafasir through the opinion. These scholars, they were narrating the opinions of the Sahaba, the opinions of the Tabi'in, but they were adding their own opinions as well. There is tafsir lughawi, linguistic tafsir through the linguistic point of view. And many other kinds of tafsir. We don't want to go deep in the details of this point. And then there is also another point or another kind of tafsir, which is a tafsir al-mawdu'i. This is something very nice. Tafsir al-mawdu'i, this kind of tafsir, it's not very well known, but it deals with the whole Quran and the whole Mus'haf as just one unit. Like all the chapters of the Quran, all the surah of the Quran, they just like one unit of meaning. And every meaning is related to the other one. This surah comes in this order, it becomes a specific knowledge. This surah comes after the previous one because there is a sabab, there is a reason behind this. This ayah, this part of the surah comes after this story comes after this because there is a sabab. So this connection between the surah and between the parts of the surah inside the chapter itself, it becomes a new methodology of the tafsir, a new way to make the tafsir of the Quran. In the old schools of tafsir, that wasn't common. We didn't have lots of works or lots of books about these connections between the ayat and the surah of the Quran. yes, there was some kinds of indications to this kind. After a while the ilm becomes a new ilm becomes the sciences of the Quran, علوم القرآن, which is something different from the tafsir. They talked about مناسبة الآيات والسور, the connection and the relationship between the ayat and the surah, between the verses of every surah inside the surah and between the chapters as well. So it becomes something, a new methodology of looking at the Quran, of approaching the Quran. So they mentioned that in the books of the sciences of the Quran. Not too much, but they mentioned it. مناسبة الآيات والسور. Why that comes after this ayah? Imam al-Razi, for example, was one of those scholars who paid a lot of attention, comparing to his contemporary scholars to this point. And he was saying that أكثر لطائف القرآن مودعة في الترتيبات والروابط. Said the very nice points of the Quran, you will find it in the connection between the ayat and in the order of the surah and in the order of the ayat as well. He said that Imam was in the 7th century. So he stated that point. So it's not something new in the modern time. It started a while ago. But it wasn't very common. Imam Abu Bakr al-Naysaburi, Imam Suyuti said, when he was sitting on his chair to explain the Quran, every surah he mentions, he would say this surah comes after the previous one because of this reason. And this story comes after the previous one because of this reason. And he said he was criticizing the scholars of Baghdad at that time because they were not mentioning this. He said if someone doesn't understand why the Quran in this order, why the ayat in this order, this is something unbelievable. The scholars, if they are not doing this job of connecting the meanings of the Quran all together as one unit of meaning, this is something is not scientific and is not beneficial to understand the Quran. But the modern scholars in the modern time, they paid more attention to this. And we have some very nice examples for this. The big Tunisian scholar, Imam Tahir ibn Ashur, is a very latest scholar in the last century. He wrote a very, very nice tafsir. I think it is one of the best tafsir in our modern time. Al-Tahrir wa Tanwir, Imam Tahir ibn Ashur. Very nice tafsir. And at the beginning of every surah, he was talking about this point. Why the surah? What are the main objectives of this surah? He was doing that, Imam Tahir. And why the surah comes after the previous one. So he was one of the scholars who paid a lot of attention to this. Also, one of the tafsir that talked about this point, Shaykh Rahimahullah, Shaykh Sa'id Hawa Rahimahullah. And the Syrian scholar, he wrote his book, a full tafsir of the Quran, and Asasu fi tafsir. And he, in the introduction of this book, if someone of you wants to go deep about this point, in the introduction of this book, he talked too much about tafsir al-Mawdu'i al-Quran, how to connect the meanings of the surah of the Quran together. So he made a very long introduction just about this point, and he built his own tafsir and the whole tafsir on this point. So it is one of also the very beneficial books of tafsir. Shaykh Sa'id Hawa Rahimahullah, he's one of the most beloved Mashaykh to me and scholars to me. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shower him with his mercy. And we have here Mawlana Shaykh Abu Bara. He was a student of Shaykh Sa'id Hawa Rahimahullah, and we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve Shaykh Abu Bara, benefit us from his knowledge. One of the contemporary modern tafsir of the Quran, which is very nice for sure, tafsir Sheikh Sha'rawi rahimahullah, and it's well known for the Egyptian brothers and for I think for everybody. Very nice tafsir. And the amazing thing Sheikh Sha'rawi did, the best thing in my opinion Sheikh Sha'rawi did, is that he brings the Quran and the meanings of the Quran, the very deep meanings of the Quran. Sheikh Sha'rawi, by the way, his major was in the Arabic language. He was a teacher of Balagha in the schools of Al-Azhar. And even the primary schools, he was teaching the very young kids. He started in this way. Then he became the minister of the endowments. So the very nice thing he did, he brings the very, very deep meanings of the Quran to every normal Muslim. Every Muslim, he can understand what the Sheikh Sha'rawi is explaining in the Quran. Every Muslim, almost. That's why the people in Egypt, they were loving him like crazy. People of Egypt loved Sheikh Sha'rawi in a very high extent. At that time when he was coming regularly in the radio stations, you will find even the coffee shops, in the streets, everyone is listening to a Shaykh Sha'rawi because he's explaining the Quran. That was the first time that people think that we can understand the Quran easily. That was the nice point Shaykh Sha'rawi did. It's not something very close to us. It's not something very far from us. When I open the books of tafsir, it's something very, very hard. I don't have time to do this. It's not my own major. It's not my own thing to do. But I can't. I feel disconnected from the Quran. So he himself, radiallahu anhu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, be pleased with him, he brought the Quran very easy for all the Muslims and for all the people. That's why it was very nice. And if you want to go to the tafsir of Shaykh Sha'rawi, listen to it and don't read it. Because some people, they compile that tafsir in a written form. Don't do that. If you want to refer to an opinion of Shaykh Sha'rawi, listen to it. He has an amazing way of explaining that. But don't try to read it. I don't think he's of those stars you can read his... it's okay to read it, but I mean to listen to the explanation from him directly in the videos, and it's available online. That would be more beneficial. One of the modern tafsir as well, I'm going to mention because it's the tafsir of my own sheikh, and he was the most beloved sheikh to me. Rahimahullah, Sheikh Abdul Mun'im Ta'ib. He's an Egyptian scholar, he's well known, and he wrote a book, Fath al-Rahmani fi Tafsir al-Quran, like 7 parts of 7 volumes. Very easy tafsir, very simple tafsir, anyone can understand. It is available online as well. He has a website, and you can search any ayah and any word very easily at the website, which is amazing about this book as well. So these are very quick examples of the modern tafsir, and the modern works of tafsir. And we say that tafsir is something that will not be concluded in a specific time. Tafsir will still go on till the Day of Judgment, inshallah. Because the more we are reflecting the meanings of the Quran, and last time we spent a long time talking about the tadabbur, the more we are reflecting and studying the Quran, the more we're going to get more wonders of the meanings of the Quran. I refer to some the translated books of tafsir, I think, which is enough. If someone has a question, you can ask me later, inshallah, about the available translations of the tafsir. And I wanted to talk about these translations of the Quran, but I didn't want to also go too much in these details. If someone has a question about the translation of the Quran or the translation of the books of tafsir, we can talk about this later, inshallah. The first surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala started Juz' Amma, this last part of the Quran, Surah An-Naba, or Surah Amma Yatasa'al. An-Naba, initially we can translate it like the news. If it is not very accurate for sure, but something you can refer to like in this way. The news or the tidings, some books they translate it in this way. In most of the copies of the Mus'haf and most of the copies of the Tafasir, they call it, and the books of Sunnah as well, they call it Surah An-Naba, the chapter of An-Naba, of the news or the tidings. And some other books or copies of the Quran, they were referring to as Surah Amma Yatasa'al. So that's why every surah of the Quran has more than one name. It doesn't have to be just one name. Surah An-Naba, they said there are like 5 names of Surah An-Naba. And this also is a chapter in the books of the science of the Quran, Asma' al-Surah, the names of the surah of the Quran. So they said it is Surah Amma Yatasa'al, it is Surah An-Naba. And Imam al-Qurtubi, for example, said Surah Amma, faqat, this very first word in the surah. Some scholars said Surah al-Tasa'al, the surah of questioning, because the first ayah, Amma Yatasa'al, what they're asking each other about, and we're going to talk about this. Surah An-Naba, this chapter, is a Makki surah. I think according to all the scholars, it's a kind of agreement that this surah, the whole chapter, was revealed in Mecca and is a Makki surah. What is the difference between the Makki and the Madani surah? What is the definition of the Makki Quran and the Madani Quran? Anyone knows? No, what's the definition first, not the characteristics of the time? For the Hijrah, after the Hijrah? Yeah.
Makkiya means it was released in Mecca. Madaniya means it was released
In Mecca as a place or as a time?
at the time.
As a time. Okay. So before the Hijrah and after the Hijrah? Okay. What else? I didn't bring my Kit Kat, so no one can raise his hand. So this is actually one opinion. It's a matter of disagreement. One is some scholars say it is what was revealed before the Hijrah, and this is the Makki, and what was revealed after the Hijrah, this is the Madani. So it is about time, not place, because there's a difference. So what if there's an ayah that was revealed outside Mecca, but before the Hijrah, so still Makki? Let's say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed some ayat to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in At-Ta'if, which is not Mecca, but that was before the migration. So it is a Makki, according to this opinion. And this is an opinion. Others say no, it is a matter of place, not a time. So whatever revealed in Mecca is a Makki, and whatever revealed in Medina is a Madani. So we asked him, so what if something revealed not in Mecca, not in Medina? He said it is not Makki and not Madani. It's a third type. So they said it's 3 categories, not just 2 categories. And some scholars say what was a kind of a talk or addressing, what was addressing the people of Mecca is Makki. What was a conversation or a kind of orders or clarification or whatever the type of khitab is to the people of Mecca is Makki, and what was for the people of Medina is Al-Madani. It's a matter of disagreement, which is okay, but the very nice point here is to know what are the characteristics of the Makki Quran and the Madani Quran. This is something very important to understand the Quran and to understand every surah and anything you are going to explain. Before you talk about the tafsir of a surah, to know it is a Makki or Madani, it's a huge difference. Because now you can't imagine in your mind what was that period of time. What were the circumstances at that time? What was the emotional even state of the believers, of the Prophet ﷺ? How was the attack against Islam at the time? Who was in a shape of victorious shape at that time, the Muslims or the non-Muslims? The state or the country of the Muslims was established at that time or not? It makes a big difference. So to know that before studying or before explaining the surah or the ayah you are talking about is very important. The scholars, that's why the scholars paid a lot of attention to this. They said there are signs to know the Makki Quran. If you don't know, if you don't have the Mus'haf, and you hear some ayat from a surah, you can guess this surah is a Makki or a Madani, according to the meanings. So there are signs and there are characteristics. So two different things. So for example, the signs they said, any surah that has a sajda is a Makki. Any surah has a sajda in the Quran. In the Quran we have around 14 sajda, and it's a matter of discipline. Any surah that has a sajda is a Makki Quran. In a surah that has the word kalla, and we have this word, we're going to talk about this now. Kalla is indeed no, or nay, as the old-fashioned word in English. Kalla, any surah that has kalla is a Makki surah. And there is no kalla in the Quran except in the second half of the Quran. And it was mentioned 33 times in the Mus'haf. So any surah you have this word is a Makki Quran, for example. Most of the ayat that has the word Ya ayyuhan nas, or your people, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking to the people, to the humanity in general, is a Makki Quran. Because at that time it was a message. The revelation in its details was not revealed in that full shape yet. So that was one of the big, huge differences between the Makki Quran and the Madani Quran. At the beginning, it was something very universal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about to every person, every human being He created subhanahu wa ta'ala. One of the main differences. Most of the surah, not all, that have the stories of the previous nations, that have the stories of the prophets and the messengers, most of them are of the Makki Quran. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to give them the example, wanted to give them the lesson. Look at what the people of such and such did. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them. The people of Ad, the people of Thamud, the people of Nuh. Most of these stories are in the Makki surah of the Quran. Okay, these are the signs. We can guess the surah to be Makki from these signs. But the characteristics, as the brother said, is in the Makki Quran, there's a big characteristic of talking about the Aqidah. Is inviting people to believe in Allah, to believe in the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to believe in the last day, to believe in the destiny. All these pillars of faith. You will find it a prevalent characteristic in the Makki Quran. Talking about the Day of Judgment, and this surah is going to talk about the Day of Judgment. Surah Amma Yatasa'alun. Actually, they were questioning the Day of Judgment. So this surah is built on this theory. That is there a Day of Judgment or not? Is there last day after this life or not? And most of the surah, just Amma, or many, not most, are talking about the Day of Judgment. What are the punishments Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preparing for the unbelievers? What are the rewards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preparing for the Muslims? How to make a conversation with the non-Muslim. For example, the Makki Quran is talking about the conversations between the Muslims and the unbelievers generally. But if you move to the Madani Quran, you will find a new type of conversation with the people of the book. Why it is in the Madani Quran? Because at that period of time in the Makki Quran, there were not people of the book. In Mecca, just they were the pagans or the unbelievers, the idol worshippers. So the Prophet ﷺ, and even the Muslims, they never dealt with Jews and Christians in the Mecca. But when they moved and immigrated to Al-Madinah, so now we are interacting with a new community, with a new kind of belief, with a new creed. So we need a new way of addressing those people. The chapter or the part we are reciting Surah Al-Imran, Surah Al-Maghrib, all that almost was talking about how to discuss with the people of the book, how to come to that middle ground with the Aqidah of Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. Why you are discussing or arguing too much about the belief of Ibrahim. يا أهل الكتاب لما تحاجون في إبراهيم وما أنزلت التوراة والإنجيل إلا من بعده. The Torah and the Gospel or the Bible, they were just revealed after Ibrahim. So all of it, it's a matter of conversation between the Muslims and the people of the book. This is a Madani Quran. Al Imran is a Madani surah. Why? They didn't get used to deal with those people before the migration to Al-Madinah. But in Mecca, talking to all the humanity, talking to the non-Muslims. So what are the concepts you want to address a non-Muslim, the one who's atheist, for example, or the one who doesn't believe in any God? You're not talking about there's a God, there's something. But the Christians and Jews, they believe there's a God. So they don't have that problem. So it's different. And you talk with them about the Day of Judgment, you talk with them about the Qadr and all these things. The very other characteristic, the very basic points and the very basic elements of the Tashri'ah, of the legislation of the Islam. You wouldn't find an ayah in the Makki Quran that is talking about a very specific detail about a punishment, for example, or about the details of fasting, or the details of Salah, for example. We don't have much details about Salah in the Quran, but generally, you will not find that. The very basic things, that killing innocent person is haram. You might find this in the Makki Quran. That what you are doing, the Arab of burning your daughters alive, is something haram. By not strengthening your ties of kinship or cutting your ties of kinship, this is something not accepted in the Islam. To seize the wealth and the money of the orphans is something not accepted. The very basic things of the akhlaq, of the morals and the behaviors of the people. And we see all the stories of the prophets. And something very important about the Makki Quran. If you think a little bit even more deeper, you will find that most of the ayat in the Makki surah are short. عما يتساءلون, this is an ayah. عن النبأ العظيم, this is an ayah. الذي هم فيه مختلفون, very few words in every ayah. كلا سيعلمون, ثم كلا سيعلمون. Does that give you any indication? Does that make you think why these ayat are very short? Go to Surah Al-Baqarah or Al-Imran, which both of them are Madani Quran. No, the ayat are really long, and we have the longest ayat of the Quran out there. So why there is that difference? Many reasons, very nice reasons the scholars mention. Number one, the short ayah is very strong, very precise, addressing the ear in a very strong way. And there is something more important. The one who is denying what you are saying, he doesn't have time to stand up and listen to you. If you are denying what I'm saying, you wouldn't stand up and give me your full ear to listen to what I'm saying. So I know that you're gonna run away. I know that you're gonna leave me, you're gonna abandon what I'm saying. I'm throwing to you some words very quickly, so you have to be very precise in words. It has to be very decisive statement. I'm telling you, كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ. Then, and we're going to talk about the ayat and how the ayat was moving from every step to step to prove the day of judgment. So I want something very short to get your attraction to me, to attract you to what I'm saying. Otherwise, if I'm starting an ayah and it's a very long ayah that's talking about a very detailed hukm or ruling, for example, you wouldn't listen to me. That's why this is one of the characteristics of the Makki Quran. Very short, very direct, to the point. Really, that doesn't mean that the other surah are not to the point, but I mean, in that perspective of addressing the non-Muslims, it was in this way. And actually, it has something to do with the rhyming. عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَإِ الْعَظِيمِ الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ. And the scholars of the voice and this stuff, the maqamat, they're going to talk about this. It's how there's a kind of very nice rhyming in the chapters of the Makki Quran. Why? It has to click the mind. It has to click. And we said they were the big masters of Arabic language, those guys. So you want something to attract him. And it's a da'wah methodology at that time. How the Quran and how the Prophet ﷺ was attracting the people of Mecca. And that happened in many situations. That's why we said many of them, the very big enemies, when they listened to these ayats from the Prophet ﷺ, they got astonished. What is this? This person, he came to kill him. But once he listened to Surah Tur, he was astonished. Why? Because how much this Quran is that strong, how much is that clear and that simple and that very high rank and very high level of Arabic language. This is of the Makki Quran as science to know and to guess the surah and as the characteristics. The Madani Quran are the opposite. You can't guess that. Any surah that has a very specific detail about a hukm or about a punishment, all the punishments are mentioned in the Madani Quran. Why? The country was not established. The state was not established. He couldn't make any punishment. He couldn't apply any legal law to be a punishment. At the time of Mecca, he was even hiding his feet. How can he apply something to be a punishment for the people? So he couldn't do something like this. So there was no point to reveal the hukm or the punishment for theft or punishment for adultery or whatever the punishment is. And we said every surah that has a kind of conversation with the people of the book is the Madani Quran as well. And all the details of the ahkam, of the heritage, for example, the ahkam of the divorce and the marriage, the ahkam of the salah, all these ahkam, even the detailed social relations, the detailed relations as a Muslim country with the non-Muslim countries, this al-alaqat al-dawliya, the international relations between the countries, all these things are in the Madani Quran. And talking about the munafiqeen, the hypocrites, that wasn't in the Makki period, because this type of people, they were not at the Makki period, but they became a very big number of people in Medina. So you will find the ayat that are trying to analyze the psychological things, the psychological aspects of these people. You'll find that in the ayat of Surah al-Madaniyah or the Madani Quran. And we say the very long verses, the very long rhyming of the ayat, you will find that in the Madani Quran as well. So Surah Amma Yatasa'alun is a Makki Quran. And it was revealed at the very early days of the Ba'ath, of the advent of Islam, or the revelation came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, he talked about this surah. He said the people of Quraysh used to gather together, specifically after the Prophet sallallahu told them that new thing. They thought that he was just invented, and they were discussing, what are your opinions about what he's saying? Is that true? Is that false? Or they were mocking at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They were criticizing him. They were trying to think how they're gonna attack the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how they're gonna stop his da'wah to spread even more among the Muslims. And then the surah has more than one point or one as factors to build the meanings on. The first thing that the surah mentioned to us how the unbelievers or the people of the Mecca, they were discussing the beliefs the Quran mentioned to them, and how they were talking about everything to them was new. Now you're gonna tell us that there was a day of judgment. We didn't know something like this. And the point of taqleed, that you were following the fathers as a belief, was something very dominant at that time. This is something we didn't get used to. You will find this word in the Quran more than one time. We didn't know this. It's something we are not familiar with this. So don't tell us that there was a day of judgment. Don't tell us that we're gonna be raised after a while to be meeting with the Lord or whatever you're telling us about. There's nothing called the grave and the question of the grave and the torment of the grave and the reward of the grave. There's nothing like this. All of this to them was a kind of fallacy, something unbelievable. So the surah started with this point, talking about the surah is describing how they were discussing this. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون. All that just description, what they are saying, what they are talking about. And then after this first part, just 4 ayat, the surah started talking about the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The surah in the beginning, it didn't give a direct answer. كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا. The first ayah in the new meaning in the surah, he reminded him, look around yourself. Look at the earth, look at the sky, look at yourself. والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا. I'm going to go back to this ayah. وجعلنا نومكم سباتا. Like 11 ayat, just reminders of these ni'am you are watching. In the universe you are living in and in yourself. And then after 11 ayat he said, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا. After all of that he stated the fact that there is a day of judgment. ميقات أي وقت. I'm going to explain that. So this is how the surah moved from one meaning to another. And then now it's done, it's over. There is a day of judgment after all of these signs we gave to you. And then this is the punishment, this is the reward. يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا. He described the scene of the people being raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then he talked about how the punishment will be and how the reward will be. And then at the end of the surah he concluded that with a very dangerous ayah. يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه. At that day you're gonna think, you're gonna regret what you did in your life. ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. And this is the last ayah of the surah. The unbeliever, he would hope that he was nothing. He was turab. He was dust. He was nothing. Why? Because I missed it. I messed up everything, and now I'm among the losers because of all of that. These are the main factors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala built the surah and tried to get this way of addressing those people. And try to think or to imagine how they were receiving these messages from the Prophet and from the Quran. So the first thing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. What they are talking about with each other. عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. عَنِ النَّبَأِ الْعَظِيمِ. About the great news, about the great tidings, for example, if you want to translate it in this way. الَّذِي هُمْ فِيهِ مُخْتَلِفُونَ. About which they are in disagreement, about which they disagree with each other. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wanted to remind them of something very important. He wanted to tell them that if we created you before, why is it impossible to raise you back to life? If you believe that I'm able to create you, so what's the problem to raise you back? What's the problem to cause you death first and then you bring you back? Something very logical. I created you before. That's why he said it in another surah, very nice, in Surah Qaf. He said, أَفَعَيِينَا بِالْخَلْقِ الْأَوَّلِ. Have we failed in the first creation? We created you, and we didn't fail in this. أَفَعَيِينَا بِالْخَلْقِ الْأَوَّلِ بَلْ هُمْ فِي لَبْسٍ مِنْ خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. Did we fail in the first creation? So now they are in doubt if you're able to create them a new creation or not. أفعينا بالخلق الأول بل هم في لبس من خلق. بل here it's a little of عطف. بل هم في لبس من خلق جديد. They are in doubt about that. We are able to do that one more time. The one who does that before, or the one who did that before, he can do that many times, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the first thing you remind them with. That we created you before, simply, we can raise you back to life. And then he, as a matter of attracting the attention of those people and everyone who's reading the surah, he started with a question. عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ. عَمَّا عَنْ مَا in the Arabic language. And in the Tajweed course we talked about al-maqtu' wal-mawsul. عَمَّا, what they are talking about. This is a very simple way of translating the ayah. What they are talking about. Look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala or the Quran introduced the ayah with. Why? He wants to attract your attention first. And then he wants to refer to something great, something very dangerous, something very frightening. It looks like something very, very hard for those unbelievers. So this is what we call bara'atul istihlal, to introduce with a very nice way of attracting the minds. And then, because the introduction was in that very high level of attraction, so the answer should be a very decisive statement. Because when I tell you what you're talking about, so it looks like that I'm going to tell you something very decisive. عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم. This still is continuing with the question about that great news, about the great tidings. الذي هم فيه مختلفون. I'm trying to imagine the point of rhyme, as I say. الذي هم فيه مختلفون, about the point they are still in disagreement with, or in disagreement among each other. And look at it, he said عما يتساءلون and not عما يسألون. The questioning has more than one meaning. It's not just about a question. Someone asks someone, but it's a kind of conversation. They're discussing the thing. تساؤل مفاعلة. تساؤل means there's a kind of interaction. When we're making مساءلة or تساؤل, so we are in a big discussion, in a big room, and we're discussing something. It's not just a person who threw a question and that's it. It's not just one person. He asked him a question and they answered him, whatever their answer was. No. يتساءلون. They were going back and forth discussing this matter and denying this matter actually. And يتساءلون, they were asking a real question, or they were just denying. This could be both. There were some people of the unbelievers, they were really asking, is that right? Are we going to be raised back again? That was a real question from some of them. He's still not a believer, but he's asking a real question. And some of them, they were asking as a matter of mocking at the Prophet ﷺ, as a matter of istihza. That are we going to be raised back to life? It's just he's saying that as a matter of mocking at the Prophet ﷺ. And the Quran said عن النبأ العظيم, about the great news. And in Arabic language, the word al-naba is more precise than the word al-khabar, and it's a specific type of khabar. The news, which is khabar, we have al-naba and khabar, and it's two different meanings. Al-naba is a specific kind of khabar, which is something very great, something with a great benefit, or a great threat, for example, that will come to the people, and that will give you an information or a knowledge about something. It's not just any news you are hearing or you are listening to. And he described it to be a great thing, al-azim, the great news with the great tidings, because of two reasons. First thing, it is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he's the azim, the greatest subhanahu wa ta'ala. So because he's the greatest, so anything he's going to mention will be great for sure. This is a specific reason for that. And the second reason, because it is related to the day of judgment, the day of resurrection, the day that is full of these ahwal and these danger matters Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will punish the people with. الذي هم فيه مختلفون. This النبأ العظيم, the great news with the tidings. What is that naba? What is the النبأ العظيم? What is that great news? What is that great tidings Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioning? Some scholars said it is a very general word that includes everything the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam brought to them. So anything he told them about Allah, about the day of judgment, about his own prophecy, and messengerhood, about anything, is from النبأ العظيم. So it's a very general word. النبأ it's a معرفة وأل الجنس. أل الجنس تعني it includes anything that might be a naba, might be something brought by the Prophet ﷺ to those people. Others said it's just the Quran. It is the naba al-azim, is the Quran. Or it is the day of judgment, because the surah is talking about the day of judgment. But many scholars said no, it is a very general word. Anything the Prophet ﷺ is bringing to those guys to believe in, it is from al-naba al-azim. الذي هم فيه مختلفون. They disagreed about this naba, about this tidings, about this news. How did those people disagree about the naba al-azim? The Quran told us that they disagreed from more than one point, or from more than one perspective. First of all, they disagreed how to describe that naba, or that news from the Prophet ﷺ. The Arab, or the people of Mecca, when they gathered together and started discussing at the very early days of the da'wah of the Prophet ﷺ, how should we deal with this? It's a new thing to us, and we have to figure out a solution for that. So they said, you have to decide. And you have the Arab who are respecting the word in a very unbelievable way. So we have to decide what we are going to tell people. We are the masters of eloquence. So we have to tell people our own concept. How do we perceive this thing he's bringing to us? Is it a Quran? Is it a divine revelation? Is it something he brought from someone else? Is something is a poetry? Is something he is inventing from his own mind? We have to decide something. So the Quran told us that in terms of the description of the Quran, what is the Quran? They disagreed. So you'll find in one ayah, for example, he said, "In hada illa asatirul awwal." This thing he's mentioning or he's bringing to us is nothing but the legends of the previous nations or the previous old men before us. That was one opinion of them. Some of them said it's a kind of magic, it's a sihr. That was another opinion. Some of them said he's just a liar and he's just telling a lie to us. And some of them said he's a sha'ir, he's a poet, just making poetry. And everyone was given his own idea, his own thought about the Quran. They didn't agree on something at that time. So, الذي هم فيه مختلفون, about which they are in disagreement in terms of the description of the Quran. What is that thing he is mentioning to them, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? This one perspective. Another perspective, they were also in disagreement about the levels of the denial of the Quran. All of them, they were not in the same level of denying the book or the rejecting the Quran or the thing the Prophet ﷺ is mentioning there. That's why the Quran, one of the marvelous things in the Quran, when the Quran was talking about to the unbelievers, it was giving them the dalil or the conversation according to the level of denial. If you are denying something in a very harsh way, I have to address you from this perspective. If you are coming to me through a logical way, I have to talk to you from a logical way. That's why you'll find in the Quran, the way the Quran is proving the Aqidah is multiple ways. So you'll find some ayat is pure logic. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Have they been created from nothing, or did they create themselves? It's a logical. It's an equation in the logic. You can make it, analyze it in an equation. Some people know he's not going through that logical way, but he wants to reflect or think. So you will find lots of that talking about the wonders of the universe, about the sky, for example. And this ad is just coming. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ مِهَادًا وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا. These people who want to reflect, want to think of themselves and of the art of the earth and of the sky. It's another perspective. Some people want to refer to the previous nations before the Prophet ﷺ and before the Muslims. They want to refer to that. So the Quran is telling them stories. Because, how could the Quran know about all of these previous nations? It's something will be astonished for them. So these different perspectives the Quran was addressing to people. Why? Depending on their level of denial. How harsh they were denying, or what was the perspective of their denial of the Quran. So some of them, they were in a very complete denial of that there was a day of judgment. And they were believing that there is no day of judgment. كَانَ يَقْطَعُ بِإِنْكَارِ يَوْمِ الْبَعْثِ. There's no way to be raised back. And there is an ayah in the Quran, Surah 7. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that on the tongue of one of them. He said, or some of them. He said, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا هَلْ نَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى رَجُلٍ. Look at how they were mocking at the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. هَلْ نَدُلُّكُمْ عَلَى رَجُلٍ يُنَبِّئُكُمْ إِذَا مُزِّقْتُمْ كُلَّ مُمَزَّقٍ إِنَّكُمْ لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. They're talking to each other, or the tribes of Arab at that time. And they said to each other that, shall we direct you to a person who will inform you and tell you that when you have disintegrated in complete disintegration, you will be raised back in a new creation. إِنَّكُمْ لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ. So they are mocking at the Prophet ﷺ. These people are denying completely, entirely that there was a day of judgment. And then, not just this, they're accusing the Prophet ﷺ. From where did you bring this? They're even accusing him with that. أَفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. Look at, they're going with the Prophet ﷺ that you are telling lies about Allah. And they're accusing the Prophet ﷺ that you are telling lies about Allah. أَفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا. Are you bringing lies about Allah? And bihi jinnah, we are mad or crazy. Then the Quran replied to them after that. At this word, their statement stopped. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered them, بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفْرُوا بَلِ الظَّالِمِينَ أَفْتَرَى عَلَى اللَّهِ كَذِبًا أَمْ بِهِ جِنَّةٌ بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي شِقَاقٍ بَعِيدٍ بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي شِقَاقٍ بَعِيدٍ. Then he said subhanahu wa ta'ala that just the unbelievers who are who will be in punished by the very harsh punishment, and they will be in extremely error. بل الذين كفروا في شقاق بعيد. So those people who were in a complete denial of the day of judgment. This group of them. Other group of them were just doubting that thing. They didn't believe that there was no day of judgment, but they were in doubt. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that also in the Quran. He said in another ayah, وَإِذَا قِيلَ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. When it said to them that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true. وَإِذَا قِيلَ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَالسَّاعَةُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. And there is no doubt about the last hour, about the day of judgment. قُلْتُمْ, Allah Ta'ala is talking to them. قُلْتُمْ, you were gonna say, مَا نَدْرِي مَا السَّاعَةُ. We don't know what is the last hour. إِنَّ ظُنُّ إِلَّا ظَنًّا. The Quran is telling us how they are talking about the day of judgment. We just assume some assumptions. إِنَّ ظُنُّ إِلَّا ظَنًّا وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمُسْتَيْقِنِينَ. And we are not convinced yet. So this group of people is different from the previous one, right? Those previous guys, they were completely entirely denying the day of judgment. But those people, they were in doubt. إِنَّ ظُنُّ إِلَّا ظَنًّا. And here is a very important point. The Quran, in many contexts, it was condemning the dhann. It was condemning that the Muslim or any person in life be speculative about his belief. That's why we say all the time, Aqidah is about certainty. Aqidah is not about dhann. You can't be in doubt about your Aqidah. Even the word of Aqidah, of the i'tiqad, or even in belief, in Arabic language or any other language, it has to be something affirmative, something you are certain with. You can't say, I believe in the day of judgment, and then you say, well, no, I'm in doubt. You can't. This is contradiction. Whether you believe that there's a deep judgment or you don't believe it, there's no middle ground between these two stations or between these two positions. You have to believe in this. That's why Aqidah is about ijtihad. Aqidah is about certainty. You have to know. You have to believe that this thing gonna happen. Like the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. And that's why we express with the word yu'mina. When Sayyidina Jibreel asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, tell me about Iman. He said, أن تؤمن بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر وتؤمن بالقدر خيره وشره. The word tu'min, to believe, is something certain, something you have no doubt about. If you have doubt, you still not believe it. You have to fix it. You have to think of it. But it is not something that will be certain or that will be definitive. Yeah, so yeah, okay. It's not something that will be definitive or something that you are sure with. This is the meaning of ijtihad and aqeedah. That's why the Quran and the scholars they condemn the taqleed. You can't follow someone in your aqeedah. You can't say, when I'm asking you why you're a Muslim, you can't tell me because my dad is a Muslim, or my mother is a Muslim, or my family is a Muslim, or I was born and raised in a Muslim community or a Muslim country. This is not enough answer in Islam. Muslim, I am a Muslim because I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is my creator. Because I believe that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is my messenger. These 6 pillars of faith, you really believe this. It's not just an idea that came to your mind. That's why when the Quran expressed what they said about the last hour, it said, إِنَّ ظُلْمُ إِلَّا ظَلْمُ. Those unbelievers said, we just assume some assumptions. Assumption is nothing in the i'tiqad. You can't make assumption in the aqidah. Aqidah is just aqidah, is certainty. Maybe you can do some assumptions in the fiqh. Maybe you're not sure in the exact way you are praying the sunnah, the exact way you're making that thing in the siyam, that thing of the hajj. That's okay. Because the fiqh is about the ghalabat al-dhann. You do as much as you can, or you understand as much as you can. But when it comes to aqidah, no way. You can't just believe in a partial i'tiqad. Or that, well, like, okay, I'm a Muslim, but I don't know why. I don't know why you should be a Muslim. Or I'm a Muslim, but okay, it might be right, it might be wrong. All of these positions can't be accepted. You have to think of this. That's why aqidah is about thinking, and we said that before. You think, you come to the conclusion that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our creator and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is our prophet. So this group of the unbelievers, they were in doubt. إِنَّ ظُنُّ إِلَّا ظَنَّا وَمَا نَحْنُ بِمُسْتَيْقِنِينَ. So according to the level, that was the point. According to the level of you denial, those people's denial about the Quran was addressing it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the answer, said, كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُ. Kalla, you can translate that in nay, in the old-fashioned word, or you can say indeed no. And it is حرف ردع وإبطال in Arabic language. It refutes anything that was mentioned before. حرف ردع وإبطال لكلام سبقها غالبا. When kalla, this word, when it comes after a statement you made, now you nullify entirely that statement, or you refute entirely that statement you made before. Kalla, everything that was mentioned is nothing. I refuted all of that. So this is the answer actually. You might say kalla and this is an answer. This is enough to be an answer that all of that is nothing, or there's that has no point. كلا سيعلمون. The scholar said, he might say subhanahu wa ta'ala كلا, and that would be enough. كلا, this is an answer, enough answer for this level of talking about, or talking to these people. But then he said, no, and they gonna know. So indeed no, and they will see. They gonna know. كلا سيعلمون. They will see, or they will know after this. Why? They wanted to add a more emphasis that everything they mentioned is nothing. Everything they mentioned is nullified. Everything is mentioned has no point or has no value of understanding. And not just this, everything they mentioned is nothing, and they're gonna be punished about the denial. So it's 2 points. That they're gonna know that it is true what they are denying, and they're gonna be punished about this denial they mentioned. And they're gonna know. And what is the maf'ul? أين المفعول? What they are gonna know. He said, كلا سيعلمون. They are going to know. Know what? He didn't mention it. Why? To include all of that. To include that they're gonna know that this thing is true, and they're gonna know that they will be punished about this thing. So it's 2 meanings. They said in this ayah. That's why he didn't mention the maf'ul, he didn't mention the object of this verb. سيعلمون, they're gonna know. And then he emphasized it with one more statement. ثم كلا سيعلمون. He made the atf, and he repeated even the same words again. And it's not just a matter of repetition. The Quran doesn't have an ayah just for the sake of repetition. No, it added even, the scholar said, هذا ارتقاء في الوعيد والتهديد. He made it in a higher level of threatening those people. He escalated the language a little bit to threaten them a little bit more. ثم كلا سيعلم. Now they gotta know again. So when you are people who are denying this, and you can't understand the Quran or the Arabic language by your own nature as a very high level of linguistic person, you will find it's something not easy. When if I'm were at the time of this Arab, and I'm listening to the Quran is telling me عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون. It's not something easy at all when I'm listening to this word. That's why now you can understand how they were shocked with the ayat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling them. And سيعلمون, at the time of death, I'm going to conclude with this point. At the time of death, they will know. They will know that this point was mentioned in some of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the hadith, إن الكافر يرى مقعده عند موته. The unbeliever, he will be shown his seat in the hellfire at the time of his death. And the Muslim, the believer, will be shown his seat of the Jannah, of the paradise, at the time of his death. And he will be informed or told, هذا مقعدك حتى تبعث. This is your seat in the hellfire, or in the Jannah, until you're going to be raised on the day of judgment. And this is one of the things that the person is going to watch and see in his grave. We're going to talk about that in the coming surah. And he will see that in a way we don't know how he's going to see this. But it's two different levels of watching these things. How can we understand this? In Surah At-Takafur, at the end of chapter, عما يتساءلون, this chapter, لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمَ ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that you're going to see the hellfire. And then you will indeed see it with your own eyes. Why he made it 2 times? لَتَرَوُنَّ الْجَحِيمَ ثُمَّ لَتَرَوُنَّهَا عَيْنَ الْيَقِينِ. One of the meanings, one of the tafsir, they said, is 2 levels of watching. The first one, at that time, when you will be shown your seat on the day of judgment. And then the second level, at the day of judgment itself. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises the whole people, or all the humanity, at that day, to be held accountable for everything. After that, wa'id, or threat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the surah started talking about, as we said, to remind them with the wonders Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in the universe. أَلَمْ نَجْعَلِ الْأَرْضَ مِهَادًا وَالْجِبَالَ أَوْتَادًا وَخَلَقْنَاكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا وَجَعَلْنَا نَوْمَكُمْ سُبَاتًا وَجَعَلْنَا اللَّيْلَ لِبَاسًا وَجَعَلْنَا النَّهَارَ مَعَاشًا وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا وَجَعَلْنَا سِرَاجًا وَهَاجًا وَأَنزَلْنَا مِنَ الْمُعْصِرَاتِ مَاءً ثَجَّاجًا لِنُخْرِجَ بِهِ حَبًّا وَنَبَاتًا وَجَنَّاتٍ أَلْفَافًا إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا. 11 verses in the Quran talking about the wonders of the universe. And then the answer came, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا. Indeed, that day of fasl, that day of judging between people, is something definitive, something gonna happen and certain. Inshallah, next time we'll talk about this ayat and how the surah moved with these meanings to answer the questions of those unbelievers who were denying the da'wah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Shaykh Abba just reminded us with the ayat جزاه الله خير. افترى على الله كذبا أم به جنة بل الذين لا يؤمنون بالآخرة في العذاب والضلال البعيد. Those people who do not believe in the last day, they will be given a very harsh punishment. And الضلال البعيد, the very far astray from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and from the path of the guidance. Or they will be in extreme error, because they are in extremely these paths of the wrong, paths of the dalal, of the misguidance, out of the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us deep understanding of our religion, deep understanding of the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and to forgive our sins and shortcomings, and to shower us with His mercy. اللهم إنا نسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك السلامة من كل إثم والغنيمة من كل بر والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك يا ربنا سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته ولا هما إلا فرجته ولا دينا إلا قضيته ولا طالبا إلا وفقته ولا مظلوما إلا نصرته ولا أسيرا إلا فككته ولا غائبا إلا رددته ولا عقيما إلا رزقتها ولا عاصيا إلا هديته ولا حاجة من حاجات الدنيا والآخرة إلا قضيتها ويسرتها لنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وعملا صالحا متقبلا ورزقا حلالا طيبا يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم أكرمنا بكرامة القرآن وشرفنا بشرف القرآن وأدبنا بأدب القرآن وألبسنا خلعة القرآن وأدخلنا الجنة بشفاعة القرآن. اللهم ارحمنا بالقرآن واجعله لنا إماما ونورا وهدى ورحمة. اللهم ذكرنا منه ما نسينا وعلمنا منه ما جهلنا وارزقنا تلاوته آناء الليل وأطراف النهار على الوجه الذي يرضيك عنا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعل هذا العلم حجة لنا لا علينا. اللهم اجعل هذا العلم حجة لنا لا علينا. اللهم اجعل هذا العلم حجة لنا لا علينا. واجعله في موازين حسناتنا وحسنات آبائنا وأمهاتنا ومشايخنا وكل من له حق علينا يا أرحم الراحمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.